Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going into Be a Pro and kind of giving my opinions on what needs to change going into NHL 25. So when it comes to Be a Pro on this channel, I almost never talk about it, if not very, very rarely, as 99% of the content on this channel is focused toward franchise mode, but I did want to take a look at the other main offline mode in this game, that being Be a Pro, and seeing just, what needs to change, what can be improved upon, and where should this mode go into future NHL games. So let's just jump into it. Let's create a new Be a Pro here, and then I'll start giving my thoughts on, everything else here that needs to be improved upon. And there we go. First off, the opening scene in the mountains, everyone's favorite opening cutscene to this mode. It absolutely just baffles me that this is still in the game, that there's been no change. It's been the exact same now since, I think, what is it, NHL 21? It's ridiculous in my opinion. It just shows that there has been very little to zero time or effort put into Be a Pro, which I do feel for you guys that do like playing Be a Pro. I know there's a pretty decent community out there that loves this mode, and that's their thing that they kind of stick to. And it seems like they're almost getting some of the least amount of content here year to year. So hopefully that can change. And yeah, if this isn't NHL 25, they don't change this cutscene, it's pricey pond hockey once again. I don't think that's going to go over well with the community. And I know it is a very small thing. It's just a cutscene to open the mode, but still, it's very lazy having that with no changes for all these years now. So continue on here. Everything here, the creation suite, again, it's what we have in every other mode here. Totally alright with that. Nothing needs to change here. We will just continue on and save. We'll get to the player archetype. So we are goalie in this, again. Whatever you can be, whatever style of player you want to be, that's totally fine. But here is where I have some suggestions. And by no means, this is not a new opinion here. But why is it that we can't have at least a full season in the CHL? I remember from all the old games going back to, old gen Xbox 360, I think you could even do multiple seasons back in the juniors. And here it's just limited to the Memorial Cup. You play all of 3 games, 4 games, whatever it is, the tournament, and that's it. Like, I think that has to be expanded upon. Just give us at least a year where we can play on that team, build up our draft stock, as the Memorial Cup is it's not enough time to really do that and tell your player's story entering his NHL draft year. But just cutting ahead here until we actually get into the mode itself, you'll see it's the Memorial Cup. Again, you're only guaranteed, your 3 games, 1 game against every team from each league. That's it. You're getting drafted. I know you can start in Europe, you can start right in the NHL, but even if you're starting in Europe, you're not playing like a full season down there, where I think that would, really help out with like the storylines and stuff. Keep the option if you want to just do the Memorial Cup and get drafted right away. That's totally fine. Leave that in there. But, definitely give us the option to play a full year in the juniors and trying to build up our draft stock. But continue on with the sim here. Let's just get through all our games here. You have your weekly performance again. That's good. Have a ton of different, random pop-ups and different cutscenes here with our agent as we are getting, I believe, our draft stock, everything like that. Again, I don't really care about this here. I'm just going to try and skip through all this stuff. And like all these cutscenes, they're another thing. They haven't changed at all since NHL 21. And it was a very, very cool addition when they did add all this stuff and they did the total revamp to Be a Pro. But, that's like 3 years ago now. I don't know. I think we, have to see some more updates in between then, just, to make it worth it for the consumers that keep coming back, especially if your main mode is Be a Pro. And like I said earlier, I definitely feel bad for you guys because, yeah, there's been very, very little added here in the past couple of years, unfortunately. And then just getting back to Be a Pro here, just a personal thing. I don't know how possible it'd be with the coding and everything and how they've actually, kind of constructed this mode, but it would be nice to kind of maybe have an option to turn off cutscenes and everything like that. There's a lot of players that, just play it to actually get to the gameplay and everything like that, and it takes forever to sim through everything to here, just as you're constantly going to press conferences, you're constantly talking with your agents, your coaches, and everything like that. And if you just want to play the game, it's going to take, quite a while to sim through all that stuff. Again, I'm not saying get rid of it at all. Keep it in for sure. But, at least give us the option to kind of get through that quickly there. As it does look like we did win the Memorial Cup here. And then just jumping ahead here, we have the draft interviews, which, they're fine. They are what they are. The questionings, everything like that. It does get a little bit repetitive if you do play this mode a lot. One thing I wouldn't mind is, I find it rather hard to kind of, really flunk out on an interview no matter what choice you take. You kind of have to go with the persuade option and just kind of hope that it fails all the time. And then your draft stock will go down with a particular team. But, I find whatever answer you really give, there's no real way to guarantee that. So if there's a team you really don't want to go to and they're interviewing you, I do find it a little bit more difficult to give them the bad answers so that they won't draft you. But, outside of that, it is what it is. I wouldn't mind maybe having that process extended. Again, it totally depends on how long do you want to stay in these cutscenes, everything like that. But it always seems like it's, I think, max of 3 teams that are actually going to interview you. Where I'm guessing in, obviously the real NHL, you're going to be interviewed by quite a few more teams, obviously depending on your projected draft position. But we have another conversation here with our agent. Looks like he's just giving us our news that we're going to be picked first. It's another small nitpick I have here. All I did was I simmed the Memorial Cup as a goalie. And all of a sudden I'm going first overall here, or supposed to be going first overall here. That's why I do want to see the full season come back into play here, as it makes no sense. Goalies just don't go first overall as it is, and just for a couple of games that I simulated, I didn't even play. As it actually does look like we do fall to second, but still, it's the exact same point. Goalie shouldn't be going second overall here after just 4 games of simulation. But honestly, a positive here, I do like the presentation here, just showing you've been drafted by a certain team. Take a picture with the coach, the GM. Honestly, it's well done for what it is. It's just a very short cutscene, but, it illustrates the point. Also here you have the same cutscene of yourself walking into the dressing room. I don't think this has changed at all, except for that it used to be Gatorade-sponsored water bottles. Other than that, it's the exact same. Wouldn't mind just seeing something a little bit more refreshed here. Just put a new coat of paint on it. And honestly, that's kind of my take on Be a Pro as a whole here. The mode itself isn't bad, it's just the fact that it hasn't got any updates in all these years. It's got a solid foundation to it, it's got a lot of the cool things, that we were asking for years, but it can just use that, fresh coat of paint that, it just makes everything feel new and feels like work was actually put into the mode. But, like I said, it's a solid enough foundation. Looking at all the options we have here, you have your weekly growth, coach feedback, you have your X factors, salary perks, everything like that. Like, they have what needs to be in the game, and everything here is fine enough. I don't love the salary perks, that is a bit of a side note. You have to unlock all of the different X factors through different storylines, which, it's not a bad way of doing it. I have no issues with that at all. I honestly don't really know how long some of these take to get. I'm not sure if they're, like multiple seasons, stuff like that, as I really don't play Be a Pro too often. But you guys will have to let me know that down in the comments below. But, like I said, it's got a good enough foundation here, but it just needs to be refreshed a bit. But beside that, there are a couple of things I do want to see added to Be a Pro. So let's get into those. And starting off is, why don't we have any special events for our Be a Pro to go to? Especially now that there is the IIHF license with the NHL games, why is it that our player can't go to a World Junior team in his rookie year? That would be so cool. Basically, you just get loaned to whatever international team you would belong to, and you would be removed from your NHL team for 2 weeks. We know the tournament's already in game. Then just use the rosters from last year's World Junior teams and then assign our player to the team. I think that would be super cool. They love adding these storylines into Be a Pro. Why isn't there something like the World Juniors? And that also goes hand in hand with just variety of different events we could be entering as our Be a Pro. I made a video on this, almost a year ago in regards to special events in franchise mode. And I remember getting a lot of comments that, yeah, these are great ideas, but this could also work, very good in Be a Pro. Stuff like the All-Star game. Sure, whatever, it's not in franchise mode, it should be. But why isn't it in Be a Pro? Take your player through the All-Star game, see how he does. That would be amazing. Just like the World Juniors, you have the International Championship that is at the end of the season. I forget what it's called now, the IHF Men's World Championship or whatever it is. Throw that at the end of the season if your team doesn't make the playoffs. Maybe you can be playing for one of those teams. You also have the Winter Classics. Maybe at the moment it is too difficult to add it into franchise mode. I don't know. But why not have it in Be a Pro? Your team just randomly gets assigned a Winter Classic every, couple of years, whatever it may be. Maybe it's not super realistic if it's happening all the time, but it would be cool if it just randomly happened to your player, a couple of times throughout their career. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many different special events that your player should be able to participate in Be a Pro that, it currently doesn't. And I think it would add a lot to the mode. I don't know how possible it is from a developer's point of view, if that's something they ever even could add to Be a Pro, but I think it would be huge for Be a Pro players, and it would just add a ton to the overall experience. And then going from adding special events into Be a Pro to improving the contracts. I never understood why Be a Pro only gives you a certain amount of teams. You can't negotiate, you can't change your salary, you can't change the term, you can't do anything like that. You just have to pick one of 3 or 4 different offers here that are shown on screen. Shout out to Man of the Writ. I just really didn't want to sim 3 years with our current Be a Pro. Would have taken absolutely forever. But this is what the contract screen looks like. You play all these years with one team, whatever it is, and all of a sudden now I want to test free agency. It's so underwhelming when you actually get to that point and you can't negotiate with anyone. You're only given a select different option of teams, and what happens if you don't like any of these teams? What happens if they're all 6-year deals? I have to sign a long-term deal with a team I don't want to sign with. It's one of those things that I've always hated about Be a Pro. And it's weird, when they totally revamped the mode in NHL 21, I thought for sure contracts would be updated. Because this was the same system that they had before the total revamp of Be a Pro. And contracts weren't touched at all. And I'm not asking for anything too crazy here. Let me just negotiate with a team like I would in franchise mode with a player. The team's not going to accept everything right away, just like a player won't in franchise mode. But if I only want to sign a 1-year deal here with the Montreal Canadiens, give me that option. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those things that's always been kind of annoying to me with Be a Pro, so hopefully we can see some updates to it. And I think that is going to do it for today's video, talking about what I want to see from the future of Be a Pro. It is one of the more popular modes for offline players. And, it sucks. A lot of the offline players I find year to year often end up disappointed with what is given to us. But, like I've been saying, it's got a pretty solid core that was introduced back in NHL 21. I think you just have to keep adding on, add those special events in there, fix the contracts, and just give the mode a fresh coat of paint. Honestly, I think that would be enough for the offline player base. I think they would feel like work is actually getting put into the mode, which is, what we want to see year to year. But I don't know. Let me know your feedback in the comments down below if you guys do play a lot more Be a Pro. Who knows, maybe I forgot certain things that you guys want to see changed. Leave that all down in the comments below. But that will do it for today's video. I will see you all in the next one.